So I would love to welcome to the stage Ekaterina Golovanova, who is the Digital Director of L'Oreal. And we're going to be having a bit of a chat around AI in work and education, how to use that for generative engine optimization, what the future looks like, how to implement it, and we're going to go from there. So big, big hand, everyone, for Ekaterina.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the session. Glad to see you all. It's my first experience at MAD. I will start briefly with just a quick introduction for you to understand my context better and through which lens I'm looking at AI. So I'm digital director in L'Oreal Lux. And in terms of my professional background, it's a mix of e-com, media, advocacy and influence, CRM, consumer care, a little bit of tech, and a little bit of data. But outside of my day job, I also have a bit of an academic past. I did my PhD a couple of years ago, actually based on marketing measurements. And I am a guest professor, so I work with students. And I am on top a student myself now, so I'm finalizing my MBA program. So that's why the topic of AI at work and education resonates a lot with me personally. So I'm happy to talk about that today. And I think I would like to start with an opening statement. In my opinion, the best branding we can use for AI today, if we talk specifically about study and work environment, is basically an assist device. Not a replacement tool, not a copy-paste tool, an assist device. And if we start with the academic world and basically the context, your future talents are coming to the industry, so the study environment, we should acknowledge that students use LLMs. So there is no news, but I think what's important and actually critical for education is to develop the critical thinking while using AI. We see some professors already integrating that in their studies and modules. So just to give you an example of a simple task that actually can help you to understand better how to work with any LLMs, GPT, Perplexity, and etc. So imagine a task that actually nudge you to go and prompt GPT. So go and talk to available LLM, create a prompt, and analyze the result. Analyze the result and understand what you can make better in terms of your prompting. Analyze it the second time and just reflect what changed, what result was developed. And I think these kind of exercises, they actually help you to treat and in your mindset brand GPT, for example, as an assistance, not a full replacement when we're talking about assignments, for example. So
this is a really interesting point because I think we've been hearing a lot. I don't know if you guys have heard in the media a lot. You get all those horror stories about students using ChatGPT, just kind of blanket copying and pasting things into text. But this is actually a really positive view to say, actually, what if we shift that thinking and make it a critical thinking exercise of how we deploy that and use it, as you say, as an assistant being the headline. Yeah, super interesting.
Yeah, that's actually true, to be honest. I think it's something that, yeah, we just need to acknowledge as well in the study environment as the thing that is happening. And what we can give is the understanding of this critical analysis that you should implement. And you should implement not only in terms of the way you prompt, but also in terms of the data literacy. And here I'm not talking about 1P data for sure, I'm talking about the trustworthy of data sources. And I think academic world in general has quite a good basis for that. Because we are trained to quote, to reference, to check the sources. So there is an understanding of checking and trust of the resource that you are using. But what we can also increase in terms of understanding and reflection is the point that actually AI hallucinate. And with critical thinking, with additional questions, with just logic in place, we can catch these hallucinations and basically not rely that much purely on the first results that AI generates for you. And I think these two factors are important for us to integrate into education because basically it helps you to use AI at its maximum efficiency in a study environment. If we move to the our work context, and for sure here we have different generations, right? In terms of we know that Gen Zs, millennials, and etc. are a bit different in the way we behave at work. We also should acknowledge that 70% of Gen Zs already come to work with their LLMs, so they come to work with assist devices. And here we have not that fancy point, but we also need to assess the safety, do we provide enough tools, and etc. But I guess this audience can be actually the best audience you can ask in terms of use cases, how to use LLMs for you personally, how to plan your groceries, your vacations, how to use it at work, because those guys, they already come with this knowledge and they are available. I love interacting with this population. Luckily enough, I have a lot of early careers, and it actually gives you a lot of insights how to use AI personally. But what I also think is important in work environment is not only your personal usage. For sure, we can optimize data collection, summaries, follow-ups, agendas, but we can also optimize teamwork. And I'm not only talking about existing products in, I don't know, Microsoft with Copilot and etc. that help you to optimize more like virtual performance in terms of your calls and summaries for the calls, for example, and etc. But I'm also talking about interactive work that I personally like to do more, like brainstorms, hackathons, and etc. It's usually exciting. It includes physical interaction. And here as well, AI, in my case specifically, is super helpful because it basically takes away things I hate doing, like making a follow-ups and minutes after a brainstorming session. It's a disaster because A, you may lose something easily. You have like 2 hours of brainstorm, some insights may be lost, but if you do an audio recording of a human interaction, A, it doesn't disturb you. In the moment of time, you can still kind of leverage the energy and etc. But you can use this recording afterwards to generate the same minutes, follow-ups, and etc. And more, even more, I use it with the flip charts. I'm a fan of post notes. I think it's fun, but it's a nightmare after the session to actually make them available in any format that you can reuse, except for the pictures. So AI basically also, for example, even with my worst handwriting, understands what is written on a post note and creates a document for me. So there are lots of use cases how we can also integrate AI in the teamwork, and I think this is exciting because it helps you to focus on a human interaction more versus writing something in parallel, get the best of it, and then use AI as an added value for you to have actions after these interactions, for example. So I think yes, it's definitely an assist device in all the types of environment. And what we should, just to summarize, what we should actually nurture is critical thinking and the data literacy in terms of sources that we use, just to catch the hallucination and make the best of the product that we create together in this context.
Amazing. So that is looking at 3 separate contexts: the academic and student world, the individual and personal in the workplace, and then also that kind of team environment for the workplace. And the key takeout being the assistance, and it's an assistant, it's not a replacement, it's there as your support network, and also then checking the integrity side of it as well. So actually, can we have a quick show of hands? Do we have any academics in the room or students at the moment? Hey, well done, guys. And then who is currently using AI personally at work? Spot on, fabulous. And who's managed to get as far as using it in team concepts as well? A little bit fewer. Okay, so you're all the driving forces of how to push it forward into your teams as well. Super interesting. So now we've kind of set that kind of broad context for the different use cases. How do you start thinking about value creation and value adds for all of those 3?
So I think I would like to add to the point of your like personal use and as we discussed, the team added value. We also obviously see added value of AI in our business performance. And here I'm also talking, I'm an AI positive person. I'm talking about AI and human collaboration. And we see that in different industries, starting with financial trading. If we have human group of people working together with AI tools, we have better probability of forecasting. Plus 25% is a lot. We see that in health industry, when we have doctor working together with AI tool to make a diagnostics better, And for sure, we see it in advertisement, and it's not new, because if we look back a bit, I think Facebook integrated AI in the newsfeed in 2006, so it's been almost 20 years. So it's not new tools and products inside Google and etc. that we use as advertisers, and we see better performance, for example, with PMAX. In terms of return on ad spends, it can increase plus 30%, but we also see even more increase in terms of incrementality when we also onboard human brain to work together with AI optimization, for example, in terms of strategies or in terms of creatives. I know creatives is quite a debatable point in terms of like, can AI fully replicate creatives and etc. Is it ethical? But if we onboard human brain to understand what better in terms of creativity, of call to actions and approach, we see much better performance and return in terms of business. And I think it's great, and I would like to kind of frame it this way, that is actually human plus AI is a collaboration, not again a replacement, at least from what we see now. And I guess it's also important point of added value. We should acknowledge that is helping business in different areas to deliver better performance.
Yeah, amazing. And to that partnership point, we actually had Will Harvey from Diageo talking about a Johnny Walker case study yesterday. The team there were collaborating with an artist to come up with custom printed bottles, with every single bottle of Johnny Walker being a completely individualized design and approach. And what was super interesting about how they did that was they worked directly with an artist. The artist had partial ownership of the AI model. They trained it on his imagery and his style, brought in some brand elements, and they co-created that together. But it was an entirely closed unit. It didn't train other models. So they were really thinking quite carefully about that kind of ethical point of how do we approach collaboration in a way that doesn't replace the human, it augments it and gives ultimately him a new revenue stream as well. So it was quite an exciting way to look at that as a partnership and creation point.
Yeah, I have actually another example, just I remember, in terms of also how we can collaborate with the human creation and AI integration, something in the content. So for example, we tested a couple of solutions that integrate your product images or product itself in already existing creator content. So like a, let's say, traditional product placement, but with AI that can help you to be more contextual. And actually, it looks quite organic. So this is another way also how we can actually use both creators' minds, AI and human, even for like video productions and etc. already now.
Amazing. And as you are the expert in measurement marketing, ROAS and that side of things, we've seen here that everyone is pretty much unanimously using AI personally, but the sticking point here seems to be a little bit how we push it more broadly into teams. So what advice would you give to our lovely audience on kind of making that business case? How do you show ROAS and value with AI and that in a space? What would your recommendations be to how to approach that from a business argument?
I guess in any testing or piloting, my advice will be start small and with the most impactful thing, and then scale fast. So I guess it's super visual with AI when you integrate some use cases. In your, I don't know, any session that you run, just use the tool, and when you see how fast it optimizes some things that, as I mentioned, for example, me personally, I don't like to do. I think this is the biggest breaking point that can help you to scale up later, like bigger solutions in terms of, I don't know, your work environment or consumer-facing products that you launch.
Amazing. You've touched on it slightly there, but the question from someone in our audience is, what steps are you at L'Oreal taking to be optimized for that kind of generative engine approach? And are you changing already your approaches to measurement, and how is that impacting your day-to-day work?
I would take this question as work environment and not what we do as advertiser. In terms of work environment, we do have our internal, also similar to GPT tool that use a combination of different LLMs. So we try to optimize work and also safety for the employees. we test a lot of as well other solutions like copilots and etc. So I think at the moment of time, yes, in testing mode, trying to scale adoption. That will be the shortest answer for that.
Yeah, amazing. And we've obviously touched there a lot about the business context and working in teams. What is the value that AI creates for the consumer? Because ultimately we're here to serve the consumers, we want to generate more sales, and we do that by appealing to our bases. So how do you think AI can start showing up there?
I think the most exciting piece actually is to see the search evolution. So we all know about the fast pace of adoption from consumer perspective. We see it in the audience in terms of number of hands that has been raised. And we see that ChatGPT is number 5 platform worldwide now in terms of traffic. So the adoption is speedy. And what we see in search, for example, and what you probably see in search when you search your personal queries, is that the behavior has changed dramatically. So if we look at Google behavior, it's you usually have 3 keywords when you search. When you search on GPT, for example, you use minimum, on average, 23 words. So the way you search is completely different. It's much more contextual. You give much more details when you search. And if you run a simple experiment, it's not scientific, but still, if you have a team members with 5 different LLMs, or even the same LLMs but different profiles, and if you ask the question, let's say, what the best SPF for my category, you will see that the results will be different. We know the personalization in search have been there for years, but it's also different in different LLMs. So it's quite an exciting time to understand how search optimization and LLMs works. And I know there has not been any industrial solution yet. But yes, definitely a big traffic source for the future. We see referral traffic from GPT increasing on the websites. We see overall usage is bigger. So definitely something to be prepared for, because if you are not there in search, you will be basically invisible for consumer, I guess, in couple or even less years.
Amazing. And I think time has flown by. So if we look to that kind of bigger picture, big future, where do you think AI is going? What excites you most about it in the future? And I think the other thing to obviously note is we are 2 women working in AI, talking about AI on a stage, which is fantastic. But World Economic Forum stats last year showed that men are adopting AI and generative search technologies at a 133% higher rate than women. So what risks are there of biases creeping in, and kind of what's your vision for the future? Because you are an AI optimist, and paint us a nice picture.
Well, that's an interesting question. And to be honest, I will have an answer based on my personality and something that excites me personally. And in this case, the unknown, because let's face it, we know some trends, we see where tech is developing, we see a lot of different devices popping up, like, for example, the Meta glasses and etc. So I guess the unknown of how fast and where it will evolve excites me the most. And I guess the most kind of dangerous piece from the brand perspective is actually catch it before it will become massive, because I guess it will be even much harder to get there versus, for example, classical search. We talked just a few minutes ago about search. It will be much harder to get there. So yeah, that's a challenge for the brands. And for me as a personal user, I'm excited because if I can optimize a lot of pieces of my life, I'm happy. So happiness, excitement, and I guess challenge will be the answer for your question from me, my personal view.
Okay, amazing. So key headlines are keep it as an assistant, make sure you're using it differently in those 3 different realms of usage, and brightened visions for the future as well. So we are actually at time, which is amazing. So if there's any extra questions that we haven't covered, if you'd love to come up to the front and have a chat with Katja as she comes off. Everyone, big round of applause for Ekaterina. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining, guys, in the session. See you around.
Amazing. We have a 5-minute break until our next speaker is on, so please stick around or check out the rest of the programming. But thank you very much.